The sun, a golden orb, cast long, dancing shadows across the dusty paths of Galilee. Laughter, light and free, mingled with the gentle bleating of sheep and the distant murmur of the Sea of Galilee. In a quiet grove, beneath the shade of ancient olive trees, children gathered. Their eyes, wide with wonder, were fixed on a man whose presence was as warm and comforting as the morning sun itself. This was Jesus, and he often spoke of things that made their hearts feel big and bright. Among the children was a small boy named Samuel. Samuel was often quiet, his gaze thoughtful, and his heart, though young, felt the world deeply. He watched a group of older boys playing a boisterous game, their shouts echoing through the grove. One boy, Judah, was bigger and louder than the rest, his movements sometimes clumsy, sometimes forceful. Samuel had seen Judah push a smaller child once, and the memory still made a tiny knot form in his stomach. He wished everyone could be kind, but he didn't know how to make it so. He often felt a little lost in the world. A small boat on a big, unpredictable sea, yearning for a steady shore. Jesus, with a gentle smile, began to speak. His voice was like the soft rustle of leaves in the wind, yet every word held the weight of 1,000 stars. "My dear children," he began, "do you know what kindness is? It is like a tiny seed, planted in the heart. When we water it with love and care, it grows into a mighty tree, offering shade and comfort to all." He paused, his gaze sweeping over their eager faces. Imagine, if you will, a traveler walking on a long, lonely road. He falls, he is hurt, and he is alone. Many pass by, too busy, too afraid, or perhaps simply not noticing. But then, a stranger comes along. This stranger sees the hurt, feels compassion, and stops. He cleans the traveler's wounds, lifts him onto his own animal, and takes him to an inn, caring for him until he is well. Samuel listened, picturing the scene vividly in his mind. He imagined the pain of the fallen traveler and the warmth of the stranger's helping hand. It felt good, this idea of helping. He looked around. Some children nodded, their faces reflecting understanding. Others, like little Leah, clutched their worn dolls closer, as if protecting them. Judah, however, stood a little apart, arms crossed, a slight frown on his face. He kicked at a loose stone, sending it skittering across the dust. He seemed to find Jesus' words soft, perhaps even foolish. Samuel saw the flicker of disdain in Judah's eyes and felt that familiar knot tighten. How could Judah not feel the warmth of Jesus' story? Jesus continued, "This stranger, my children, showed kindness. He didn't ask if the traveler was rich or poor, friend or foe. He simply saw a need and filled it with love. That is what it means to love your neighbor as yourself. It means seeing everyone, no matter how different, as worthy of your gentle touch, your helping hand, your understanding heart." He then invited the children to share their own small acts of kindness. A girl named Miriam spoke of sharing her bread with a hungry bird. A boy named David spoke of helping his grandmother carry water. Samuel, emboldened by their stories, softly shared how he had once helped a tiny beetle that had flipped onto its back. Jesus smiled, his eyes twinkling, affirming each story with genuine warmth. Just as a feeling of peace settled over the group, a sudden commotion broke the calm. Judah, who had been quietly observing, suddenly snatched a small, intricately carved wooden bird from Leah's hand. Leah gasped, her eyes welling up with tears. The bird was her most treasured possession, a gift from her father. Judah, with a mischievous glint in his eye, held it high above his head, taunting her. "Look at the little birdie," he jeered, shaking it slightly. Leah reached for it, her small hands flailing, but Judah was too tall, too quick. The other children murmured, some looking at Judah with disapproval, others at Leah with sympathy. Samuel's heart pounded. This was the knot, the fear, the unkindness he knew. He wanted to tell Judah to stop, but his voice caught in his throat. Jesus watched, his expression serene, but sorrowful. He did not immediately intervene with a command, but allowed the moment to unfold, a silent lesson in the making. Judah, perhaps emboldened by the lack of immediate reprimand, took a step back, then another, and with a sudden, careless flick of his wrist, he tossed the wooden bird into a thorny bush nearby. It landed with a soft thud, hidden deep within the tangled branches. Leah burst into tears, her small body shaking with sobs. The other children gasped, their faces a mixture of shock and anger. "Judah, that was mean," cried David. Miriam tried to comfort Leah, but the little girl was inconsolable. The beautiful, delicate bird was now lost, perhaps broken, in the prickly thorns. Judah, seeing Leah's distress, seemed to falter for a moment, a flicker of something akin to regret crossing his face. But then, as if to cover his uncertainty, he puffed out his chest and muttered, "It's just a silly toy." He turned away, pretending to be uninterested, but Samuel noticed his shoulders were a little hunched. The air in the grove grew heavy, thick with sadness and resentment. The children looked at Jesus, their eyes pleading for him to fix it, to punish Judah, to make everything right again. Samuel felt a surge of anger towards Judah, but also a strange pang of pity. Judah always seemed to be alone, even when surrounded by others. Jesus knelt, his eyes level with the children's. "My dears," he said, his voice soft but clear. "When someone hurts us, it is easy to feel anger, to want to hurt them back. But what does that do? Does it heal the wound? Does it bring back what was lost?" He looked at the thorny bush, then back at Leah, whose tears still flowed freely. Judah's heart is troubled, just as Leah's heart is broken. If we meet anger with anger, we only add more thorns to the bush. But what if we choose a different path? What if we choose kindness, even when it is difficult? Samuel, still feeling the sting of Judah's unkindness, found himself listening intently. Jesus wasn't scolding Judah, nor was he dismissing Leah's pain. He was asking them to think, to feel beyond their immediate hurt. "Think of the traveler on the road again," Jesus continued. "If the stranger had seen the fallen man and thought, 'He should have been more careful,' or 'It's not my problem,' would the traveler have been helped? No. It was compassion, a gentle heart, that made the difference. Now, Leah's bird is in the thorns. Who will help her retrieve it?" The children looked at the thorny bush. Its branches were thick with sharp spines, and the bird was deep inside. No one wanted to risk getting pricked. Judah, still standing apart, shuffled his feet. He glanced at Leah, then quickly away. Samuel, however, felt a stirring within him. Jesus' words about the stranger, about choosing a different path, resonated deeply. He looked at Leah's tear-streaked face, then at the bush. He knew he couldn't reach the bird without getting hurt, but he also knew he couldn't just stand by. Then, an idea, small but brave, sparked in Samuel's mind. He remembered his own small hands, how he had carefully helped the beetle. He looked at Jesus, who offered a reassuring smile. Samuel took a deep breath. I can try to get it," he whispered, his voice barely audible. But then he looked at the thorns, and a wave of fear washed over him. He was too small, too afraid of the sharp points. He felt a familiar sense of helplessness. Jesus, sensing Samuel's hesitation, gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes, my dear Samuel, kindness isn't just about doing the act ourselves. Sometimes, it's about finding a way, together. It's about understanding that even when we are angry, we can still choose love." He looked at the other children. "Who has a stick? A long, thin branch that might reach?" David, always resourceful, quickly found a sturdy, long branch that had fallen from an olive tree. He brought it to Samuel. "Here, Samuel," he said. "Maybe this can help." Samuel took the branch, It was long enough, but the bird was nestled precariously. He tried to maneuver it, but the thorns snagged the branch, making it difficult. Leah watched, her sobs subsiding slightly, replaced by a glimmer of hope. Judah, who had been watching from a distance, slowly started to move closer. He saw Samuel struggling, his brow furrowed in concentration. He saw Leah's hopeful, yet still tearful, eyes. Something shifted within him. He remembered the feeling of his own hand being pricked by a thorn once, and the sharp, sudden pain. Suddenly, Judah stepped forward. His usual bravado was gone, replaced by a hesitant, almost shy demeanor. Let me help," he mumbled, his voice uncharacteristically soft. The other children looked at him, surprised. Samuel paused, holding the branch, unsure how to react. Judah, without waiting for an answer, knelt beside the bush. He was bigger, his arms longer. He carefully, slowly, began to part the thorny branches with his bare hands, wincing slightly as a few thorns pricked his skin. He ignored the small stings, his eyes fixed on the wooden bird. With a gentle push, he nudged the bird towards Samuel, who then carefully hooked it with the branch and pulled it free. The wooden bird, miraculously, was intact. Samuel carefully handed it to Leah. Leah's face, which had been streaked with tears, now broke into a radiant smile. She clutched her bird to her chest, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Judah. Thank you, Samuel," she exclaimed, her voice filled with relief. Judah, still kneeling, looked up at Leah, a faint blush creeping up his neck. He didn't say anything, but a small, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. He looked at his hands, where tiny drops of blood beaded on his skin from the thorns, but he didn't seem to care. Jesus, who had observed the entire scene with a gentle gaze, now spoke. "See, my children? Kindness is not always easy. Sometimes it means reaching into the thorns, even when it might hurt. But when we choose kindness, when we help each other, even those who have hurt us, we mend not only what is broken, but also the hearts that were troubled." He looked at Judah, his eyes full of understanding, not judgment. "Judah, you showed great courage and kindness today. You chose to heal, not to harm." Judah, hearing Jesus' words, looked up, his eyes meeting Jesus's. For the first time, Samuel saw not anger or defiance in Judah's eyes, but a deep, quiet shame, mixed with a surprising sense of relief. It was as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his young shoulders. He had expected anger, punishment, or at least a stern lecture. Instead, he received understanding and affirmation. He mumbled, I'm sorry, Leah. I shouldn't have taken your bird." Leah, still beaming, simply shook her head. "It's okay, Judah. You helped me get it back." Samuel watched, a profound sense of warmth spreading through him. The knot in his stomach had completely unraveled. He saw Judah not as a bully, but as a boy who had made a mistake and then, with a little help and a lot of courage, had chosen kindness. He realized that Jesus' teaching wasn't just about being good, but about understanding, about seeing the hidden struggles in others, and about choosing love even when it seemed impossible. The whispering wind of kindness, Jesus had called it, and now Samuel felt it blowing gently through the grove, touching every heart, including Judah's. From that day forward, things began to change. Judah still played boisterously, but his pushes became gentler, his shouts less harsh. He even helped Samuel carry a heavy basket of figs one afternoon, a small, unspoken act of friendship. The children learned that day that kindness wasn't just a word, but an action, a choice, a powerful force that could mend broken toys and, more importantly, broken hearts. And Samuel, no longer feeling like a small boat adrift, felt anchored by the quiet strength of compassion, knowing that even the smallest act of kindness could send ripples of warmth through the world, just like the gentle waves of the Sea of Galilee.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. It will help us create more Sunday videos like this.